Welcome to Farming Aid.
In the quiet corners of America's farmlands, something extraordinary and tragic is happening. Ancient breeds of farm animals that once built this country are fading from the landscape, replaced by a few commercial types bred for speed and uniformity. Behind every barn door and overgrown pasture lies a story of survival, struggle, and hope. These vanishing breeds aren't just animals, they're living pieces of our history, creatures that fed settlers, powered homesteads, and shaped entire communities. Yet today, many stand on the edge of extinction. In this video, we'll uncover the untold stories of three of America's rarest farm animals, the ones fighting not only for their survival, but for the preservation of an agricultural heritage that runs deep in the nation's soul. This is Vanishing Breeds, the fight to save America's rarest farm animals. Let's start with the Randall Lineback Cattle, a breed that almost slipped completely into extinction. These cattle are unlike the glossy beef breeds you see in commercials. Their distinctive appearance, soft white coats with dark, mottled, lineback markings along the back and sides, tells of a lineage that reaches back centuries. The Randalls are one of the few surviving pure colonial cattle breeds in North America. They trace their ancestry to cattle brought by English settlers to New England in the 1600s. These animals were not bred for show or industrial-scale beef, they were multipurpose family cattle. They pulled plows in the fields, provided milk for households, and supplied meat for small farms. They were the cattle of self-sufficiency, hardy, adaptable, and thrifty. But as America's dairy and beef industries modernized, the Randalls were left behind. The arrival of high-yield dairy breeds like Holsteins and beef giants like Angus meant there was little room for these traditional dual-purpose cattle. By the mid-1900s, most Randall linebacks were gone. In fact, by the 1980s, fewer than 20 of them survived on a single Vermont farm owned by the Randall family, who had quietly maintained the line for generations. It's astonishing to think that an entire breed, once spread across New England, was reduced to one small herd on one family's farm. When the Randalls' survival came to public attention, a few passionate individuals recognized the urgency. Conservation breeders began to rebuild the population from that tiny genetic base. The work was painstaking and risky, but it succeeded. Today, there are still only a few hundred Randall Lineback cattle in existence, but their numbers are slowly increasing. Farmers who raise them praise their calm temperament, resilience on pasture, and unique, flavorful beef and milk. For many, keeping Randalls isn't just about farming, it's about preserving a piece of America's agrarian soul. Every calf born is a small victory, proof that heritage still matters in a world that prizes mass production. While the Randall Lineback represents America's early European heritage, another vanishing breed carries the story of Native American survival and adaptation, the Choctaw Hog. Small, dark, and often scrappy-looking, the Choctaw Hog isn't the kind of animal that fits in today's commercial pork industry. Modern farms rely on uniform, pink-skinned hogs bred for large-scale meat production. But the Choctaw Hog is something entirely different, a living remnant of the animals that once sustained indigenous peoples and early settlers across the American South. The Choctaw Hog traces its roots to the early 1500s, when Spanish explorers brought pigs to the southeast. Over centuries, the Choctaw Nation adopted and bred these hardy animals, creating a unique strain perfectly adapted to life in the forests and swamps. They were foragers, not feedlot animals, capable of surviving on roots, acorns, and whatever they could find. For generations, Choctaw families relied on these pigs for food and trade, and the animals became an integral part of tribal culture. When industrial agriculture took hold in the 20th century, the Choctaw Hog nearly disappeared. Its small size and slow growth made it unprofitable by modern standards. Thousands were replaced by faster-growing, uniform commercial breeds. But for the Choctaw people, these pigs were more than just livestock, they were a cultural link to their ancestors. Tribal elders and heritage farmers fought to keep the remaining animals alive, often in secret, as other breeds faded from the land. Today, the Choctaw Hog stands as one of America's rarest pig breeds, with only a few hundred known to exist. They're recognized by their dark coats, long snouts, and sometimes even tusks, traits that speak to their ancient lineage. They're incredibly hardy and disease-resistant, qualities that make them valuable genetic resources for the future. Some small farmers are rediscovering their worth, raising them on pasture and selling flavorful heritage pork to specialty markets. But for many, the importance of the Choctaw Hog goes deeper than economics. Each one represents cultural survival, the resilience of a people and their connection to the land. In preserving these pigs, the Choctaw Nation preserves its history, its independence, and a part of the American story that modern farming nearly erased. From the forests of the South, we travel north and east to New England again, where another heritage animal fights for recognition, the Narragansett turkey. Before the rise of factory-farmed broad-breasted whites, the Narragansett was the pride of America's Thanksgiving tables. This breed, developed in Rhode Island during the 1700s, was known for its striking plumage, a mix of steel gray, black, and bronze, and its rich, old-fashioned flavor. It was the turkey that fed colonial families, sustained early settlers, and helped shape holiday traditions long before industrial poultry took over. But the rise of industrial turkey farming changed everything. The modern turkey industry prioritized size, uniformity, and speed. The broad-breasted white became the standard, bred to grow rapidly and produce more breast meat. In the process, breeds like the Narragansett were almost wiped out. By the mid-20th century, they were virtually gone from farms and grocery stores alike. What's tragic about that loss isn't just the disappearance of a breed, but the disappearance of a taste and texture that once defined American cuisine. Narragansett turkeys are slower to mature, but they reward patience with meat that is firm, flavorful, and naturally rich. They thrive on pasture, forage for insects, and require far fewer resources than their industrial counterparts. In an age when consumers are beginning to value flavor and sustainability again, these qualities are finally being rediscovered. The effort to save the Narragansett turkey began with a handful of small farmers and breeders who refused to let the breed die out. Through organizations like the Livestock Conservancy, genetic material was preserved and breeding programs were established. Today, the Narragansett is still rare, but it's making a modest comeback. Heritage poultry farmers are reintroducing it to markets, chefs are showcasing it on menus, and families are rediscovering what Thanksgiving used to taste like. In that sense, every Narragansett turkey raised and roasted is more than a meal, it's an act of restoration. The fight to save America's rare farm breeds goes far beyond nostalgia. It's about food security, biodiversity, and resilience. Industrial agriculture has given us abundance, but it's also made our food system fragile. When nearly all of our pork comes from a few uniform breeds, or when our milk depends on a single high-output dairy cow, any disease or environmental shift can have devastating effects. Heritage breeds like the Randall Lineback, the Choctaw Hog, and the Narragansett turkey hold genetic traits that modern livestock have lost: resistance to disease, ability to thrive on forage, and adaptability to different climates. These are traits we may desperately need in the future, especially as the climate continues to change. Beyond the science, though, there's something deeply human about this fight. Saving these breeds isn't just about preserving genes, it's about preserving stories. Every Randall calf represents centuries of New England farm history. Every Choctaw piglet carries the legacy of indigenous survival. Every Narragansett turkey embodies the craftsmanship of America's earliest farmers. They remind us that agriculture was never just an industry, it was a way of life built on diversity, patience, and respect for the land. Today, heritage farmers across the country are picking up where history left off. They're building small herds, trading breeding stock, and educating others about why these animals matter. They know it's not an easy road. Raising rare breeds is rarely profitable at first. There are no government subsidies or massive corporate buyers. But there's a growing market for authenticity, a hunger for real food with roots. As more people seek out heritage meat, milk, and eggs, they directly support the survival of these breeds. Farmers' markets, farm-to-table restaurants, and heritage food festivals are becoming powerful allies in this movement. What's even more inspiring is how these efforts often bridge divides, uniting traditional farmers, native communities, conservationists, and consumers. The preservation of rare breeds has become a shared cause that blends science, culture, and ethics. It's about ensuring that our agricultural future is not a monoculture, but a mosaic. Still, the danger remains real. The global livestock population is narrowing, and many breeds hover on the edge of extinction. The Randall Lineback's population remains in the low hundreds. The Choctaw Hog teeters between hope and loss with each generation. The Narragansett Turkey's future depends on whether consumers choose heritage birds over industrial ones. These numbers might sound small, but their impact is enormous. Each of these breeds holds a piece of the genetic puzzle that ensures food security for future generations. When you think about it, the fight to save these animals mirrors the broader challenge of preserving biodiversity everywhere. Just as wild species are disappearing under human pressure, so too are our domesticated ones. But the difference is that these animals depend entirely on us. They've evolved alongside people for centuries. Their survival now depends on whether we care enough to act. What's heartening is that awareness is growing. Across America, young farmers are turning back to heritage breeds for both ethical and ecological reasons. They see that diversity isn't a step backward, it's a safeguard for the future. They're building farms that mimic natural ecosystems, where animals play their historical roles, grazing, rooting, fertilizing, and balancing the land. The Randall Lineback is once again pulling carts and grazing New England pastures. The Choctaw Hog is reclaiming southern woodlands, thriving in low-input systems that echo its ancestral home. And the Narragansett Turkey is strutting proudly again in fields, a living link to America's earliest Thanksgivings. Every time one of these animals is born, the story of American agriculture gains another chapter. The fight to save vanishing breeds is really a fight for choice, resilience, and identity. It's about making sure that our grandchildren can see, taste, and touch the living legacy that shaped this country. When we talk about sustainability, it's easy to focus only on technology, solar panels, vertical farms, or lab-grown meat. But sustainability also means remembering how to live with diversity, how to value creatures that don't fit into an industrial mold. The story of America's vanishing farm animals isn't about loss, it's about resilience. The Randall Lineback, the Choctaw Hog, and the Narragansett Turkey remind us that the past still has something vital to offer. Each birth, each small herd, each farmer choosing heritage over mass production is a quiet act of rebellion against uniformity. These animals carry the lessons of endurance and balance that modern agriculture too often forgets. By saving them, we're not just protecting old breeds, we're protecting our food security, our culture, and our connection to the land. If you believe these stories matter, support your local heritage farmers, learn their names, and help keep these breeds alive. Because every rare animal saved today is a promise for tomorrow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the word. Together, we can make sure these living legends never fade from America's fields again.